This conference will now be recorded.
Judge Blanchett, if I may.
Hey.
I'd like to just, whenever it's appropriate, I'd like to just, like have an option to address the court, just whenever.
Okay.
I just want to put that, just whenever.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Okay, who's got whatever we start with? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we will.
What we do will be based on what you say.
Gentlemen, last time we met, I approached the commissioners and the court about I guess you could call it a fix to what I see as a problem in maintaining qualified applicants and employees, if you will. And if you'll remember, I was calling it a concession that I would like to remove an investigator spot to create money for across the board $2,000 increase. And in doing that, I've even gone back and I've looked at the figures, and I know we talked, and I knew when I presented it that there was going to be a deficit. And in looking at that, I really had some heartburn, if you will, on that, with creating that burden not only to the court itself within a budgetary aspect of it, but to the citizens of Tyler County. And I didn't want to create that any type of increase in any type of tax rate on my part, if you will. So I went back and I looked and I did some computing and some figuring and gave you that base salary. And then if you include some of the medical insurance and a few other of the benefits, I think we talked about, we're trying to find exactly out what that benefit, the monetary amount, you're looking at around $9,500. I come before the court today, and what I would like to do is to have you consider during budget workshop the amount of money you have within the investigator itself, and including that $9,500 in benefits. What I would like to do, and to be able to do, if the court would allow me as the elected official and the head of that department, is to take that money, instead of doing an across the board $2,000 increase across the board, is to allow me the opportunity to be able to disperse that money within my department as I see fit, as the head of that department, and also as an elected official. Would just like that opportunity. In doing that, it's not going to create any type of deficit, any type of increase, Commissioner, that it was looking at before when I presented you those numbers. And I got to thinking about that. It wasn't fair on my part to come and say that I've got X number of dollars, but I'm going to need another X number of dollars to be able to make this work within my department. So that's the reason I wanted to kind of look at another option. It gives me the same ability, Commissioner Hudson, to be able to keep the quality applicants that I have, also, but to again be able to attract them. But it's not something that where you guys and gals have to go in and look for that, that extra supplementation. And that number was a little higher than what I thought it was going to be too, as well. So again, I'm trying to be fair about it across the board. My Sergeant Calvin and I have talked about this. I've talked with with other individuals within my administration. And again, we're just trying to provide that incentive to be able to attract and really more importantly, as I said last week, to retain. So that's just something I would like to have the court consider during this budget workshop. And any questions, I'm sure you may have some or any down the line. I'll be glad to answer. I just, like I said, I want to put that out here today to give you a little bit some new things to consider from the last time we met. Sergeant, I'll leave anything else, and I know anything else. Sometimes I get to rambling, so I just want to make sure that I didn't overlook anything on the things that we've talked about. So. Yeah, I don't, he said, yeah, really, I want to remove that, last week's deficit that I proposed, it was, and that was, and again, I apologize to you, that wasn't fair on my part either, so.
So you're going to adjust the salaries that you're going to spread out in your department from the investigative position that you're removing without getting any increase to your budget from.
Correct, from top to bottom, yes,
So
sir.
You're going to adjust those salaries from what they were, so you won't have a deficit.
Exactly, that's correct,
Yeah, and we would need to approve those.
yes, that's correct.
Those
That's
numbers.
correct, yes, that, exactly, and I just, those figures too, of course, is what I will go back, and work on, what we will work up together and then be able to present that to the court.
So currently you have 3 open positions in patrol and 2 dispatch positions that are open. Is that correct?
Yeah, and on the, there's probably more than that, Judge, actually, there's 3 in the investigative division where there is budgeted for 4. And then on patrol side,
Dan wasn't working from.
but as far as what we're paid, there are 2, I believe. And then, and of course, whatever you added there, Judge, as far as the dispatch, yes.
What your jail would be.
Jill, we're full staff at this point. One of those individuals will be coming out hopefully soon to the patrol side, which will create another open force in there, so we'll be all there.
I appreciate you
Yes, sir.
working it out.
Yeah, like I said, y'all I want to put that out there. And I think we kind of ended the meeting last time with me, and I kind of wanted to throw that back out this morning or this afternoon, at the beginning. That way you have that, and, heck, an hour from now, you may come up with some other questions or something, so. Want to put that out there. Thank you.
Becky, there's on the district clerk side, of course, you would want some money for, there is some line items or some designated fees or funds that are put in that we have, and I don't know what line item that's called in the general fund. Donnice might know what it's called.
County records management.
County.
That's a different fund, it's not in general.
Okay, but I mean, it's designated for county records. They can be used anywhere in county records, and so, if there's money there that we can take out of that designated fund for fees that they collect
For what
Not
Renee's,
for Renee's
Not
fee,
having-
yes.
For
We might have to
For
increase
records
that.
management,
Yeah,
It's just the money that's in there. We're not collecting as much as we were. Donnice shows a really good balance, but she's been saving for
right,
a long time.
but there is some money in there.
Yeah, I think it's like 87,000.
Okay, so there's money to cover with, I mean, if we, like she was talking about 10 or 20 a year. to
Oh, yeah,
start
for a
the
while,
process,
yeah.
Just from me wanting to get some of my specific things done, it was gonna be $500,000. And so I'm sure that hers will be that much as well.
Take a
So
little
you
bite of
just,
it.
you just do a little bit at a time, and the companies are okay with that. I just tell them I want to do 20,000 this year.
Okay.
Certainly do that much, and then next year, what it can.
And Lynette, best I can remember, the past 2 years, we have not gone above the no new revenue rate or the effective rate.
In general, not since 17.
Not since 17. So that might be where some of that money is going to, is if we're having, I know last year we had an increase in, we didn't have an increase in insurance or retirement, but the year before that, first year I was on court, we had an increase in both of them, on health insurance and retirement. And this year we're having another increase on health insurance and retirement. So
It's likely to keep going up too.
right, and it's gonna keep going up, and I'm afraid if we don't take a little bit of bite of an increase along the way, we'll end up, 15 years down the road, and we're gonna have to make a huge, yeah. I learned from lessons past of past elected officials is to, you see that start going up, take a little bit, every couple of years, and kind of keep that in check.
Yeah, it's hard to climb back up once you get behind.
Yeah.
So what was the figure for all of that? If the sheriff is not asking for any of
Yeah,
that?
and if we take,
So what is it we got? It's
and if we take Renee's out, if we take it out, we get 184,000,
184 is what I thought.
right at 184.5.
That's basically what we got covered.
Right, to come out the same as, our bank account come out the same.
Okay, and just so y'all would get a clearer picture of this that I gave you, where it shows the money, that's how much cash is needed to balance the budget as it sits right now for 2022. Because I took it out of the current, because we're already using $1 million, whatever, so I added the increase, but I took it out so you would see that, yeah, we've got a balanced budget now, but we're using $1 million to balance this year's budget. And so we still have to carry that over, and then I added the increases to it, and that's how much cash balance we would use to budget, to finish off general fund, and then the precincts, the ones that have money in them, that's how much more money they would need to balance. And I also brought the American Rescue Act funding in some of the papers I gave you, and the reason I brought that is you will see the emergency disaster fund has $5 million in it. The 2.1 million and something is the American Rescue Act money. So you have to minus that off of there, so you don't have 5 million that you can just do whatever.
We got three something.
Yeah. And so if you wanted to use some of that fund to fix general fund, then you would even have less than that. Or you can wait and see if general fund makes it.
So if we take that out of there to balance general fund, how much do we have, how many months would we have about?
On what I had emailed you, over.
I think that's before we balance.
So if you take another million out of that, it would leave us with like, if you would take the 1.2 million out, it would leave us about 1.6 million. And that would be a little over, probably a little over 2 months.
We also still have that courthouse restoration, 371, but I think we came up with what, 195 or something
Yeah.
like that?
About 100,000.
Yeah. But we're still having to pay rent and stuff as long as we're not
Back in
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah,
courthouse yet.
we have got our state guy coming in Monday, so, state architect will be here Monday, so.
I don't know what the amount of that would be.
So even though it looks like we have 4 months or 5 months, whatever it is, we really don't because we have balance. this,
You're having to use
before
some
the end of
cash
the
to
year,
balance your budget.
before the end of the year. Yeah.
If we only got 3 million left in the, emergency disaster, I mean, we're right at the peak of hurricane season right now, you know. I don't feel comfortable, just me pulling out of that.
That won't begin to fix it if it's major.
Right. And you can't use that money, or you shouldn't use that money to balance your budget either. Well, we would, if we use that money to balance the budget, we wouldn't have been eligible for the COVID relief money too. That ain't not that. You had it's about 40 line items, we use it all, not to balance the budget. No line items for fraud.
We have going into this, we have the 2,183,000 in unencumbered money. As far as the county special, I mean, like I said before, it'd be tight for me, but I can absorb that, you know. 11,000.
Now, this is going with, what rate are we talking about here if we went with that? I mean, we're just talking about right now what.
That's what we have right now, yes. And so if we don't do anything, if we stay with the no new revenue rate, let's see if I understand this. By the time we get through with this year's budget, what we collect next year, we'll have maybe 3 months of reserve, is that right, Becky?
That's the way I projected it, yeah, based on the 2019 expenses. Now, that being said, I think we're gonna be in a little bit better shape, just because we got the CARES money this year of what, 703,000, and then we gave 200 and something to the school, so that left us with a little bit more, so that was money that was not expected.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not gonna happen all the time.
What that do.
I mean, you can go with the no new revenue tax rate, but at some point.
We're gonna run out of money for it.
Yeah, because you're whittling away at your cash reserve.
Is it better to take a little now or a whole lot later?
I say take a little now.
That's better, that's basically what you're talking about.
Right. At least take what we're increasing and put a little more on that. I mean, our expenses are increasing by 184,000 without giving anyone that's requested, and that we can do that. Just in our retirement insurance and longevity is 184. If we've been doing that since 2017 or 18, whatever that was, it's starting to eat off a good bit of that too. I know not every year that it's increased. Last year it did not increase. Thanks again, Sheriff, for covering that.
From the no new tax rate to the next one is only $106,000. And if you go to the third one,
6492.
6928. That one's 213,442. So that covers
That
that.
covers the increase.
It gives you about, 30,000
30,000.
more. And that's the 6492.
So we'd be in a lot better shape if we didn't have that expense from the courthouse. Whole lot better shape.
Okay.
But the current rate is 6,782, so
Right.
it doesn't look bad on paper.
Yeah. But the value.
But the values,
Right, we reduced the rate, but it still went up more.
I did the 6,492, and that's $213,442. The other one only gives you $102,000.
What's the next one up from there? 6592.
6,592, okay, 7,035,083 minus 6,7. That gives you 320,000. I think. That was the 9.2? That's one you asked?
6592.
Okay.
Yeah, 320.
320, and that's at 94%. If you happen to get 97, it might be good.
That gives you about 135,000
Above,
above what.
did you? It gives you 135,000 above the 184.
That's at 65.
Yes. That's about a $30 per hundred valuation increase.
Buck, what was your difference between the 6292 and 6392? What was your figure?
108,000.
about 102, I think.
That's what it was.
Okay. I keep coming up with 106,721.
Might have been 100.
I think 106.
I might have hit a bad number. $106,721.
Is that what you got?
That's correct.
Okay.
6.3 is where I was kind of the other day, felt like feel pretty comfortable with.
$100,000 increase, still be in the hole. so.
Still be, yeah, but I mean, if we can cover it even at the no new rate, then that could give us a little more on it.
We don't have 3 months.
Yeah,
Unless we start selling some
yeah,
liquid.
yeah, we don't have to do that. That's just desk and chairs.
Right.
We'll have plenty of stuff to do.
Not backhoes or nothing.
The 64 would cover it with 30,000 extra. One below it would still fall short by 80,000, 75,000.
Yeah, maybe 64 is what I was thinking, because it's 67. So it'd be 3 cents on the general fund, and I think 2 cents less on the road and bridge, if I'm not mistaken. It was gonna be a nickel altogether. 5 cents difference for.
Because we talked about not doing, about keeping the no new tax rate for the road and bridge.
Which y'all retired, so y'all got more to absorb.
Absorb we, I think.
Yeah. Well, you got your deficit's higher too. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought about you had a higher deficit than we did.
And you got a higher one than me.
You came in first place.
Not always good to be in first place. In some instances, it ain't that bad anymore. It's only $18,000. It's only 18.
So Lynette, what is, if you know off the top of your head, if we go with something other than the NNR rate, what is what are your functions? You have to post it a different way than you do if we look at the,
It's just a different, form that goes in. And it's also you have a hearing, but you can choose to do the hearing and then adopt at the same meeting.
at the same time.
They do, that has changed.
You have one public hearing now, is that right?
One public hearing,
Is it a longer advertising time or anything? Or
it's the same.
It's the same.
It's, 7 days. It has to be, clear up in the paper 7 days, no less than 7 days before.
Before the hearing? Okay. So if we decided Monday on a proposed rate on all three things, and we did go up on that Monday we did, when would be the earliest that we could have a public hearing? Get it in the newspaper in time? Because I guess you could put it in that Monday, is that right? We would meet at 11, as long as we didn't meet till after closing time.
Yeah, you have till the end of September, so.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if we had a certain time limit that you had to wait after you did the public. When you said we could adopt it the
Public
same.
hearing, you can now adopt it on the same day,
we don't like that one public hearing.
and just one public hearing.
So if we did decide on the 23rd meeting, would there be enough time?
The 23rd of August?
Right, and we put it in, yes, 23rd of August. So it'd come out in the newspaper on the 26th, right?
Yes. And then that will give,
And we put our public hearing for September the 7th, which is a regular court meeting date.
So Labor Day.
That, well, Labor Day is the
Exactly.
6th.
Oh, it is the 6th.
Six?
Yeah, we
So
have
seventh
a
would be
court
key.
scheduled for the 7th. That would be fine. We'd have to do our public hearing that same time we put the proposed tax rate in, right, to get the time frame.
We're all gonna be gone.
you would have the proposed rate that you want.
Oh, we-
Take a vote,
We're all gone.
that's published,
Yeah.
you voted for it.
So the 26th, we would put in the proposed rate and also the notice of the public hearing on the 7th, right?
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Steve.
We have to legislate it
That's-
But it won't matter?
That's first, second, and third.
first, second, third.
Yes.
Okay, that's before.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was after.
One of my questions is, how much is, if we do go up on this rate, the taxpayers are already gonna be paying more for the no new revenue, and how much more, would that be?
Sometimes they're gonna be paying more. So, because we're not collecting any more money, it's just moved out of range.
Yeah, but the values have went up.
But the rate's going down.
But the
Right,
rate's
but the
going
rate's
down.
going down. We're not
Yeah.
collecting any more money. We're just collecting different amounts of money from different people. Some people's will go down, some people's will go up. So you have 7,000 or so different R numbers out there. Some of them will go down, some of them will go up. If you don't collect any more than what you were. If they all went up, we'd be collecting more money. If every one of them went up.
I'm seeing more and more of the timber company land up for sale, so
Yeah,
that'll probably help us in the long run.
yeah.
Yeah, they're selling it. I mean, it kind of shows you out there on the 100,000 value.
Yeah.
I mean, you would go up about $40. No.
What?
Yeah. And if it was 200,000, you'd go up $80.
Depends on how much you value.
Depends on the value. So for some people, it could be considerable.
Right. Because, some people it's not gonna go up. That falls on the other people.
Well, that's good.
On those people, there's not proceeds.
On us people.
Michael was so close.
But I'd sure like to go enough just at least to cover what our increase is, but I don't want to hit the people hard a few years from now when this has to.
Yeah, and that was my thoughts of the day, but I guess I got that courthouse respiration stuck on my mind.
But if we hadn't gone up to 17, then that's what's happening to our reserve is we're eating away at our reserve and we don't have, losing our reserve.
She also said we were gonna be in a little bit better position next year.
Well, that's speculation, yeah, I don't know that, probably so. But your fees are gonna be down, you know, for sure. But you know, y'all are good at the hospital with the no new revenue grant, y'all are good at
That's what I understand.
that. Okay.
You know, as long as it maintains where it's at.
Correct.
Hey, Steve,
Yes, sir.
on our county special rate, I mean, on the, is it 25.47 now?
25.47 now.
But on the one that they've got over here, we don't even have a rate that high on it. So just the no new rate is 23.37.
That's right, 23.37. So the 25.47 is above the 3.5% that you could go up. That's why it doesn't show up on here. I believe that's right.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
I've got a note here, a deficit of 57,000. That's if we went with a no new rate, I think.
And that's between us all. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
all four.
That's what those, is that what these add up to?
Yes.
I believe that's right.
It's on this.
Right.
For each one of your budgets, that's
No,
how
we are
much.
all in agreement that we can absorb that.
Well, I guess we are.
Well, I mean, I was saying if we went to the 23.42, that's where I was saying we would be dropping it 2 cents on the county special and 3 cents on the general fund. If we went with 64.92 and 23.42 on the county special.
Yeah,
It'd be 5 cents less per 100.
yeah, we're dropping it. There's no doubt about that. But we're still collecting more money.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly, but that would keep us from having that deficit, I think, if we went to that.
Well, let's see.
I'm landing more towards no new revenue. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. That's
Well,
in my,
I went over my road material budget for
well, you know I have.
3 or 4 years in a row, you know, and if I hadn't had money in reserve, I would have just had to stop, you know, I wouldn't even have to fix roads. That's what I'm saying, I hate to give up any,
Yeah.
if we don't
I mean,
have
I got-
enough now.
I'm probably, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I'm the lowest budget road and bridge department, and I still got $350,000 in reserve.
Increases.
So, I mean, I could, I'd like to see, I don't
Maybe I didn't.
really even don't have to go to no new revenue, but you kind of feel like you're forced in a corner on this.
It goes from 2478 to 2484, so that's only $5,000. Is that right?
478, 84,
2484, 173 minus 2478.
I mean, you're looking over here on two on the side, on the tax levy on $100,000 value on that county special. It's only going up like 20 cents from one to the next, 20 cents and then. I don't, it just kind of depends on what we want to do. If we want to scale back, it's one thing, but we're going to try to do what we've been doing.
I just don't want to get to a position where we have to start cutting people. And that's my biggest deal. And I really like not having to cut the benefits, because that's what we don't come to work for the county.
Yeah, I don't think anything very important.
This is just Joe's first year opinion, but I just feel like if we keep on, adding more and more, at one point, we are going to get to that position where we're going to make some really hard choices.
Well, if you don't add to it, you're going to have to.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns last week.
If you don't add to it, you're going to have to cut because everything's going up.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do that one time.
Yeah. It's tough.
Well, I think Monique is here long enough, and I'm here long enough. When we went 10 years without any kind of pay increase because they did not raise the effective rate at all. And then they got in a bind because everything kept going up over those 10 years.
So if I remember right, they raised it 7%.
Whoa.
I bet you had about a revolt.
Every office had to cut an employee, and I remember that. Yeah. We've been doing fast.
7%.
Because the people still want the same services they're getting with the county, whether you cut the tax rate or not. They still want the same benefits of what the county does provide.
And there's someone not happy with that.
Let's see what it would take to get this up here.
Judge, what are your thoughts?
In addition to what I shared the other day,
We're in a pretty tight spot.
I did a little personal homework last night, several hours, went down and got information from Lynette. And here's what it came up to be. Over the last 10 years, just personally, my values have doubled, my taxes have tripled, and the rate has increased 53%. If we take this budget this year and attempt to live within it, absorb the costs for those increases, and see what next year holds. Because this last year and a half has been pretty disruptive on all fronts. And I realize I'm just a swing vote if y'all are divided up, but that's where I'm at.
Judge, how much, you said your rate went up 50-something%?
The rate from 10 years ago to this current year increased from a total road and bridge and general fund of 6101, and this year it was 9329. So that's a 53% increase on the rate. That, coupled with the fact that the values from 10 years ago at $73,076 is now at $158,191. So my taxes, total county taxes, 10 years ago were $351.67. and that included both road and bridge and general. And this year they were 1,013.09 for me personally. So when I look at it like that, am I typical of anybody else that's under 65 and not disabled? And what are they faced with as far as taxes? And that was pretty significant.
And when did those values start going up significantly?
Good question. In 2016 is when they went up 1.6 times from 73,076 to 120,025. And then in 18, they went from 125,365 to 158,719. So if I'm just looking across the landscape and thinking I represent the same people that each of y'all do, then is their story the same? And, I've been in 15 budget workshops, and I never looked at the impact. I always thought about, okay, we're only gonna go up, and it's going to have an effect of like $40. But that $40, it added up. There was one year that the total increase was $185 over the previous year. And that was dramatic. And there was one year in this whole time frame, and that was in 2017, that it increased from 16 to 17, it went up $185. And then there was one year that it did not go up at all, it was flatlined. But in that 10-year window, that was what it looked like to me. Values doubled, taxes tripled, and rate increased 53%.
Well, I can probably explain some of that, because there was a period of about 12 years that they didn't reappraise any properties.
Exactly.
We changed chief appraisers, and of course, we had all kinds of new stuff coming down. Everything started getting reappraised at that point, and, went all over the whole county, and they did sections at a time. And I mean, that's the whole lot of the reason everybody's went up, because they just hadn't been reappraised in so long.
I agree with you. And, I've lived through it, but I would also say that the oil and gas values that took a significant plummet was carrying us. But the appraisals, we have no control over. I mean, you can protest, but ultimately there's going to be a decision made about how much your property is going to be valued at. Ours is just simply to satisfy the appetite of the budget that we want to expense to determine whatever that rate is.
But some of that appetite, we don't have any control over, like our insurances, retirement, yeah, you do have some control over that. But just like the cost of paper, the cost of office supplies, the cost of the things that the sheriff's department has to have.
Medical at the inmates, the number of inmates that are getting medical care, we have to pay for that.
I mean, we have a lot of unfunded mandates. It's not just that we've got employees and we are just using tax money for benefits. I mean, they provide a service, and I know Trisha's been here a long time, so has Brian, and I worked for Don East, so I know exactly what her office does and the services they provide. And I also know that just about every department that provides a service to the public goes above and beyond what they're required to do. I mean, I know a number of times that Don East has either waited at the office or taken a marriage application home with her because they couldn't get to her office during normal working hours. So our employees are valuable, and I do believe they're deserving of the benefits that they have.
I got an email from Jacob on the agri-life side, wanting a request for $1,000 into his budget for 4-H supplies, different things. I think y'all all got that, the request there. I would would say that is, I fully support 4-H, but if there's something that Jacob or Agri-Life 4-H needs to buy, then present it to the court and we can pull it out of contingency or whatever there is.
There's that youth program also.
Youth-
It is a reimbursement.
Yeah, youth program as a reimbursement that we can do. Now, he wouldn't have that in his line item to get reimbursed, it would have to be paid out. Now, full support of the 4-H club for this program. That's right, over there, instead of trying to increase the line item budget or something like that. And that 184 increases with no line item budget into any budget. Okay. I guess Donnie's is $5,000 for voter register, what's the
Election
election?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
administration.
The truth is, there's only 5 of us that are going to vote whether we do this or not, and it only takes 3 of the 5 to constitute the majority. So it rests within the 5 of us and your own, or our own, minds and conscience as far as what we do or don't do. Fortunately, we do have some capacity reserve-wise to absorb those increases. And I do acknowledge that it's a couple $100,000. But thankfully, we do have it that we can absorb it without changing our budget.
we do. That just concerns me that we've been doing that since 2017, I guess. So Judge, what happens? Do we just put on the agenda to adopt a tax rate? Because I know we can't decide in here what the agenda for court, would it just say adopt a tax rate for all 3, or 3 separate agenda items, I guess? General
It's
fund.
gotta be proposed.
Yes, proposed, yeah. But we don't have a number of a proposed number in here to put on the agenda, right? But we can't decide it here because it's a workshop.
Right, it's gotta be.
It just has adopt a set of proposed tax rate, three different ones, right?
Yeah, with a different meaning to set the proposed,
Right.
what you're gonna propose. And when the meeting will be that you're gonna have the hearing and then adopt.
But we would need 3 different agenda line items, one for general, road and bridge special, and then the hospital, right? Is that correct? Yeah.
They're different,
Yeah.
different.
And 4 of us have to be there. Well, I don't know about proposed, but I know on the day we do vote on it, whatever day, 4 of us have to be present to constitute, be able to vote on it, I think. 80% of course. I don't know about the proposed side, do you?
I don't.
It would be good.
There's some language on it here.
We want to try talking about American.
Yes. Yes. I don't. I got enough numbers in my head.
Approval rate.
You can't. I'm not blocking you out.
Yeah, it's just no new revenue. The voter approval was 6961.
That's what's on here, right? Because this says if it's voter approval rate, it's gotta be done 71st day before the November election.
If it goes above that.
But we have banked 3.5% from last year because we stated no new revenue rate last year on the general fund.
We're starting to get that, adjust that.
Right, so actually we have 7%.
If we don't do anything this year, then we have 7, right?
Well, we can do 7 this year. So we had 3.5 from last year, right? no new revenue levy. So we banked 3.5% last year.
We
But
don't,
we
we
didn't,
don't want to do seven.
no, it's just available.
Right.
So if you use some of it up, that'll be taken off of that 7 next year, which would be 10 or 9.5, whatever it is.
Hey, aiming them hurricanes early at us this year.
Oh, yeah. Is that 3.5% on the whole budget or the levy? It's the whole budget, it increases 3.5% on the whole budget.
Yeah, the whole,
Everything.
The nine
Steve,
900 something. That's where the
It's all
3.5%,
500,000.
not the levy side of 7,000.
So
yeah,
this is a good question, I think. If we were to have a repeat of, and God forbid, but if we had another Rita blow through here, what's that gonna do to us financially?
I'll tell you, Ike,
We got Ike information.
the total cost on Hurricane Ike, and Jackie could probably speak more to this, but the total impact was $7,587,000.
That's just what I pulled exactly from what monies we applied for with project worksheets. So now, a little bit, not much, of that money was we applied for other, like the camp to cool or whatever, but it wasn't that big of an expense, but I don't remember what.
Was all this reimbursement?
All of it came back to us?
But we had to
Not
spend
well.
it.
We had to
Yes.
spend it first though,
Yes.
correct? Well, Ike was a picnic compared to Rita, because I'm telling you, I lost 3 trees in my yard in Ike, and I lost 30 in Rita, so Rita had to
That's
be,
because Rita took them out.
Rita had to be a
Never
lot,
had those anymore.
lot more money than that.
Well, and the reason, when you get reimbursed by FEMA, where we've got this reserve and emergency disaster, is because when they reimburse for forced account labor, they also reimburse for the benefits included. So they include that in the hourly rate that they reimburse. As far as equipment, they have a chart, and they're not gonna deviate from that chart on the equipment. Materials, a lot of times are dollar for dollar, but most of the time it's a 75-25. It depends on what category disaster or project worksheet it is, if it's 100%.
Now it's they
Whereas
pay
before you would
to
get,
put it at where you had it at now,
so in Rita, they built you brand new roads.
Right.
And I believe so maybe in Ike, but now, that's how we got a lot of the new bridges, because they paid it 100%. And they let it go back and be brand new. Now, they use Google Earth, and they look at your roads, and they will only reimburse it back to pre-disaster.
Google Earth. Oh my goodness.
That's where the software is of keeping up with what we're putting into a road. Over the
Yeah, that's
5
why I
years,
said,
we
because
put
they
in-
ask for the maintenance records, and if you can't produce them, then
Yeah,
what
that's
you,
why
how
we-
you've been maintaining that
That's why we
road.
keep
That's why we fill those sheets out every
Right.
day.
That
Well,
everyone
and you
hates to
can-
fill out.
You can ask Mike, they just came and did a site visit for 2016 disaster.
Few weeks,
Yeah,
2 or 3
just
weeks
now.
ago. Had several, 12 or 13 sites do it. You look at it, you take a picture of it.
Well, I just ask that, I know I personally do not live in fear of a hurricane, and I know that it's all hypothetical, but it could happen. I mean, I'm just asking a question.
And FEMA now is in Texas, is at, I think, 43 million, is that right, Joe? Before the single disaster in Texas has to be $43 million of uninsured damage before they will start reimbursing. It was 36
Start
million.
kicking in.
Yeah, it's like 8 in Oklahoma and 4 in Arkansas. Do it by populations. So theoretically, if the tornado started in Oklahoma and did $9 million worth of damage, came to Texas and did 15, and then went to Arkansas and did 6, they would get FEMA, but we would not. Because it didn't hit our $43 million of uninsured damage.
Has to be uninsured.
has to be uninsured.
Live uninsured.
Yeah.
No, but it, and, when I got her to pull this, because I kind of want to know, having that disaster relief, and it's actually only 3 million. Might get some trouble quick,
Oh, yeah.
if you go touching
And
that.
up.
Well, the difference between going with no new tax rate and going down 2 on each one of them is about $90.50 a year on $100,000 value. The 6492 and the 2342 is $983.40 a year, and the other one is $862.90 a year.
Well,
How much money more money would we collect at that 2342? You figured, I hadn't figured that out.
2342, that's not a whole lot. I mean, it's just a few $1,000 figured it up earlier. On the 2342. Right.
but I can do it right quick. Yeah, that's 5,303.
5,000,
Not gonna make much of a dent in that deficit, but
yeah.
That's only raising 5,000 more dollars.
And divide that, not equally, but if you did divide it equally.
I mean, is it worth it?
if we're going, what is it, how you figured it?
If you do the 0.2348, it increases 11,000. And then if you go to the next one, 0.235, it's 13,000. If you go to 2,437, it's 106,000. It jumps dramatically. And then the very last one's 135,000. But it's because that the big jump is because you're going from,
You're going a penny.
you're going almost a penny.
Yeah.
And more than a penny.
Right.
That's
We
why.
don't, I don't necessarily do that.
No. I mean,
But
if you're only gaining those small amounts from there back up, I mean,
yeah,
we've already said we can absorb it, so we're not
You know,
moving.
and I know it doesn't divide out equally, but that roughly $3,200 a precinct at 13,000. Of course, you would get more back than you had.
little bit.
And I forgot what
Few
it
dollars.
was. Yeah, it's not much.
Mike and I are pretty close.
Yeah, it's not, they're not exactly 25%.
No.
we're short sometimes, you might have to go up on road and bridge, I mean, the road material, what, doubled on tonnage, just past bid,
With fuel, with.
or the road material that we buy,
Material, yeah.
the cheapest road material we can get.
And we may be fixing to help ourselves out on that, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully it'll work out. I think it's gonna be good.
I would sure like to absorb that if we could on that side.
Just leave it at the no new rate.
Yeah, I would think if we get that material, that's very reasonable material. It looks like we're gonna get it right out of the state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There'll be some labor involved too,
It's a done deal, it's just the process of getting it.
right, there'll be some labor involved, but, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah. I guess that would be, I look at that as the savings thing that helps this next year.
Yeah.
Get a lot of material coming out there that we don't have to buy, or we'd have to buy, it, but it's not very inexpensive, yeah.
I mean, it's very cheap,
Yeah.
very reasonable.
But on general fund, we'll try to get that where we can.
I'd like to at least cover what our increase is and have a little more. Not much more, but at least cover what our increases are. I hate to keep digging into our savings when they need our savings. We've been digging into it since 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't make a motion. We just gotta come to a general consensus and
We're in
then
a
some,
workshop, we can't,
right? I know that.
but we
You
can,
can
we
get a
can't,
general
well,
idea.
we can figure that. Put it on the agenda for Monday. Then we can vote on it. Yeah. We take a vote in.
So for the agenda for Monday, it set the proposed rate for the hospital, set the proposed rate for road and bridge, set the proposed rate for general fund, and set the hearing date.
Yes.
Yeah, public hearing.
Was that hearing date, can they do that today, or does it have to be on the?
We don't
Does it
know
have
what
to
the
be a
rate's gonna
motion?
be. Yeah. We might even have to have a hearing date. Right. We go with any and all, we don't have to have a hearing date.
Yeah,
Only
this,
if
You
you
still
go
do?
above
yeah,
that.
because you're going above the.
No, we can do the any and all, no new revenue.
Yeah,
If we did, if
the hearing's just gonna be on the,
increase,
general fund part, and then you can vote
if we go
all the
above that,
rates
yeah.
that same meeting. You don't have to wait 3 days like it used to be.
Yeah.
But if you just left them all alone, you would you still have to have it?
Yeah, there's, well, mhm,
The
still
public
have
hearing?
to, it would be a hearing, it would just be the meeting to adopt them. It's
But
just
yeah,
different
we
notice.
need that on the agenda in case we do go above the no new revenue, no new in and out. No new revenue. RR. Yeah, RR. I don't know what N is, it's an R, is it? RR.
Can we talk about the, what we found out on that American Rescue thing?
I gave it to you, it's in your book.
Yeah, I saw it in here. I just wanted to see if we want to talk about it.
Steve said it was helpful.
Well, we can now. We can do this. So this is the money that,
I've got the paper there that says what you can do with it on the final interim ruling. on the, because I think your questions were on the premium pay.
Can we balance our budget?
No.
No.
That's why I said you have to take that out of that money you're seeing in emergency disaster.
Use the funds right here on this page.
And then on the final interim, it states, and there are several counties that are doing this, it states that if a commissioner, court, executive officer, whatever, goes to court and designates all employees as essential workers, then you can give them a one-time payment, benefit, whatever you want to call it. Because it was designed to help the lowest paid recoup some of the expenses from last year. Some of the counties have done a tier, some of them have done a flat rate. Everybody kind of done it different. Some of them have done the $13 an hour that it talks about. There's several different ways you can do it. You just, I truly think that needs to be a workshop of its own to sit down with the different scenarios so that y'all can see if it's something you want to do. You got infrastructure that you can use that money for, and you've got, I know that Joe, and I know Ken was interested in broadband. You can use it for broadband. Obviously, we're for the public health, so we're helping the hospital out. So it's very specific what you can use it for. That's why you can't use it without your budget.
And I did have a meeting with Lonnie Hunt the other day and was talking about broadband and even the tower for the emergency services. And even that could be something that we could look at doing, because that grant they applied for, they didn't get it twice. So that's, and there's gonna be 2 rounds of money coming from, Judge, you know what that designation is? Is it Rita or Harvey?
It's Harvey.
Harvey. So there's gonna be 2 rounds of money coming, 69 million. Then after that, there's gonna be another, what they're saying, another 69 million. And Mr. Hunt was talking about they could possibly, maybe if the judges decided, I assume, and the board, they could possibly do the program that they applied for with some of that money, but they've got to agree to it. So that's not a set deal.
Right.
But, looking at like getting the radios, for the emergency services and police officers, that's a big deal. And then, you can look at, broadband, trying to increase that too. That's just things we were talking about while we were there.
I definitely need broadband. I have to walk around in the house and I have found my daughter's bathroom is the strongest signal I get. So when I'm sending y'all the minutes and
So
stuff.
you don't have to put you're in the bathroom.
I get 2 bars.
That's
in her
good to know.
bathroom. I get 1 bar.
The judge is good. I'm gonna text you. They could decide to do that project for the whole region, and that would be actual wired internet, and, which is way better than building the towers and all that. But, I even asked the question, what if the county built towers, in strategic places and leased out the space? And they said it was doable, but you got maintenance and inspections and all these other things that can go along with that, which is an expense. So. I know I don't have internet over there.
There's people around me that have internet. No, I'm kidding.
Judge, you have anything else? There's really nothing else we can do, I guess, unless we want to discuss this.
So you want to have your meeting to propose on the 30th Monday?
The
23rd.
23rd, yes.
This Monday.
It's a regular meeting on the 23rd. We're good on 23rd in here? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, my only question is, are we gonna have another workshop to finalize everything after you do the proposed rate?
Do we need another workshop?
Well, I mean, do y'all wanna make changes in your line item?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah,
The changes and then I'll have to make some changes.
And then,
can we not have a workshop right after that? That afternoon? Afternoon? Cool. I just wanted to state guys come, state architect will be, I'll be in at 1 o'clock with that on the 23rd.
Don't we have court on the 30th also?
That's correct.
so is the 30th when you would set the rate? Is that, it'd have to be longer?
No, it'd have to be long. It's gonna be the 7th, Tuesday the 7th.
So we could meet again on the 30th after court?
Are you talking about August 30th?
Yeah.
We do have that, I don't know when everybody's leaving also for that.
Yeah, the tax conference.
Yes.
Oh, well, but that's not till Thursday.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, so, but we could have it after.
Monday on that
On the
Thursday
Monday afternoon at 1:30, maybe?
workshop. But do we need to do a workshop on that? Is that what we need,
Well, because what he proposed, what,
or would we need to do it in the meeting, that meeting, and go ahead and put it in the budget? On the 30th. I mean, could you do it at the commissioner's meeting, put it on the agenda to
do
what we're gonna do in the workshop instead, if you go ahead and vote on the budget, and be done with it. That time. If your line item.
if y'all
is
just tell, yeah, y'all just tell me what you want in it, so I can have
Have
it.
it, yeah,
ready,
but we just need to
because-
have a line item of considering approved budget, line item, whatever, how to word it for
Yeah.
the next year's budget,
Yeah, I just need to know what you want in it.
you know. Is that right, Johnny? Is that what?
I'm sorry, I was reading this.
Forgot what I said.
Could we do the line item, adjustments that we need to do and actually vote on them on the 30th? Instead of having a workshop and doing that.
As
So you
long
gonna
as
do
you
the line
know that
items
the finished
on the
budget won't
23rd,
be,
or?
I mean, I'll have to do it after the meeting to give it to her to put in the court minutes. You know what I'm
Are you
saying?
talking about the line items for 2021 or 2022?
2022.
Okay, so this says, we have to have a public hearing on the budget. Then public hearing, in the commissioner's court, let's see. May not hold a hearing on the proposed tax rate or to adopt the tax rate until the 5th day after the date the chief appraiser delivered the notices to property owners, but that's already been done. Yeah. So,
I mean, the only thing I need to figure out is what date that I need to meet that 10-day requirement about the salary.
Well, if we do our proposed rate on the 23rd like we're doing, and then after we do the proposed rates, then we can do the budget line item. If you get your numbers to her in time,
and it says it's got to
That's
be
what I was gonna
published
ask y'all.
10 days
Yeah.
prior to the meeting at which the officer's salaries will be set.
So
that will
what,
be the 7th, so, well, that's the plan, it's September the 7th. So if we do that the 23rd, that gives us time to publish all that along with the,
As far as me, you're gonna propose what rates you want.
So the 10th day fall from the 23rd falls on September the 6th, which is, and that's why we were having it
I'll
on
be
the
the
7th.
14th day. I'll be the 14th.
but it has to be in the paper, doesn't it say it has to be in the paper 10 days?
Right.
No, it's for me, 7 days.
Then I'm fine
Well,
with
this
the
Well, that's,
salary.
that's the rate, we're talking about
Salary.
salary, the sheriff's salary's gonna change.
Well, and then we're adding the money
Oh,
to
yes.
the.
No, it's just gonna change.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what I was.
I said do it. If you don't vote on it. I thought this said 10 days too. Well, then, for,
But if you look on.
But if it comes out on the
It's actually-
twenty-sixth,
It's not.
See, it says if the salary, expenses, or other allowances of any elected county or precinct officers are being increased, publish newspaper notice as required by local government code 152.013. This notice must be published 10 days before the meeting at which the officer's salaries are set. So if you
it's
are
published on the
adopting
26th.
this on the 7th, is that what you were saying?
That's
Yeah.
correct, yes.
So, yeah, as long as I got it in the paper
What-
by
what-
the 26th, we're good.
And that's our plan, is to put it all on the paper on the 26th.
Or you want them all the same day? Because mine could be in the next week.
No, I do, I would do it, well,
It's still be plenty of time for, as far as the rates concerned.
well,
Mine,
but yours wouldn't come out till the 2nd, which is not 7 days before we vote on it. So we'd have to put it out on the
Yeah,
26th.
you're right.
So we put everything out on the 26th, but if that meets, we finish it on the 23rd, we put it out on the 26th. And then vote on it on the 7th.
On the 7th, and we're using that all the requirements.
That would be the earliest we could go.
So y'all are gonna have a meeting on the seventh of June?
Correct, yeah, that's a regular meeting.
Does that work for you, Tricia?
I'm gonna go look, I'm pretty sure we had it done, there's something, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was posted, if we gave you a piece of paper that had all the dates for the year, that is what it was on that, yeah.
No, we're not. Shouldn't tax rate, I think it's big words. Yeah. I wouldn't try to do that. Confuse people. Like I am, working. We're gonna put that on the agenda too. Just go set the-
Set salaries, what agenda is that
Well,
gonna be?
proposed salary. Connie,
Is that on the August 23rd?
salary,
The proposed,
proposed salary,
yeah, but then the adoption is gonna be on the
second.
7th, because it has to be in the paper.
But we need to get on the 23rd, agenda, the right,
The proposed,
proposed budget too, or?
Well,
that's her question.
For the rates, yeah, you're gonna set you're gonna,
Yeah, we're gonna set the proposed rate, but I'm talking about the changing of the line items.
2022.
Does it have to be a proposed budget on this agenda too?
Good. Has to be a proposed budget at the rate time, or?
That's what I recall.
It says public hearing on the budget after the 15th day of the month following the month the proposed budget was prepared. And on here it says on or after August 16th. So that's the public hearing on the budget.
So, but the changing that stuff is going to be a proposed budget.
Right.
Any of our line items change would be a proposed budget. Right.
So that's where you're gonna tell me what you're gonna.
That's right, on the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
Right.
And then on the 7th, you're gonna adopt whatever y'all tell me on the 23rd.
And the rate.
Yeah.
It's, we're gonna vote on both.
And the salaries is not a proposed, it just says at the regular meeting of Commissioners Court during the regular budget hearing and adoption proceedings, vote to set the salaries, expenses, and other allowances of all elected county and precinct officers.
That would be on the 7th too, because that would be. We just need to make sure we get our 23rd agenda stuff, we can get all that.
that'll be the 7 days and the 10 days.
Yes, yeah. As long as we get it in the paper.
And they gotta have it by noon that Monday.
Yeah. So what time is court
11.
At 11?
23rd at 11.
Okay, I need to do that. Get it in.
Regular down already.
Jackie, I don't even have the numbers on that, from that dump truck. So I'll get all that lined out too tomorrow.
Well, proposed means just that, proposed. So as long as I have it
Pretty close.
before the 7th,
Yeah.
then we're good.
Okay, so on September the 7th, we're gonna vote, do this, set salary.
Set salary, adopt the budget and the tax rates, right?
Yeah, all three tax rates and the budget.
Okay, so when do we have our hearing for the budget?
We'll have it right before
So
she's going.
On September the
The
7th?
7th, yeah, at 10 o'clock.
Okay, so we're gonna have public hearing on the budget. This is not the tax rate.
And we'll have to have it all on that day. yeah. Tricia, is it for you available at 10 a.m. on the 7th?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Okay, so on the 7th, I've got public hearing on the budget, a public hearing about the tax rate. Then we would, another separate would be adopt the budget, set the salaries, or set the salaries and adopt the budget. Set salaries should be first thing.
I know budget's supposed to be before tax rate, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But when does set salaries go in there? Is that before?
I would think it would
Adopt
have
the
to be before the budget.
Okay. Okay, and then adopt the 3 tax rates. All of that on September 7th.
Yes.
Is it gonna be regular court time, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, that's a regular meeting. 11 o'clock.
Did
The
you want the
public
public
hearing
hearing
will be
to
at
10,
Public hearing.
or you want it all at 11?
Well, I guess we could do like we did on our subdivision, is recess out of the regular and go into the public hearing. And then after the public hearing, open the regular, I don't know.
Yeah, because my notice, I have to be in time for the hearing,
Okay.
so.
So if we do the hearings, all the hearings before, and then we just go over the regular, just do all the hearings at 10.
What about the process for that, the other thing, the rescue?
That's not contingent on the budget.
But I mean, doesn't that have to be an agenda item too?
But y'all gotta decide what you want to do.
Probably need a workshop on that.
We need a
Well,
workshop?
We can do that on that workshop then, that morning. Are we gonna have a workshop at 10, or is that just gonna be?
That's on the public hearing, yeah. Public hearing.
We can probably do that pretty quick afterwards.
I mean, we can even do that at a regular meeting.
Yeah, we just need to
We'll
put
do
it
that
on
on
the
the
agenda.
30th, if you want to.
Yeah.
On that, because we had like six regular hearings, regular
Right.
sessions set up for this, in case we miss a deadline somewhere, we got another regular meeting the next.
Yeah,
So
we
if
probably
the
like-
meeting's at 11 on the 30th, y'all could do the workshop at.
Do it at the meeting and just discuss it in the meeting. Once you get a motion in a second, you can talk about it all you want. That's it. Or do a workshop beforehand. It's up to you on the 30th, right?
So what are you talking about doing on the 30th?
talking
That's
about
American
American
Rescue.
Rescue money.
Yeah, we can go workshop on the 30th and 10th. if y'all want to. That way we can discuss
Have it,
it.
I sent it to you, y'all, this
10 a.m.
We'll look
Monday,
at the numbers.
for them to decide the amount to give the
Then
hospital.
get on the agenda
Sent
to,
it yesterday.
we'll have to do
And
essential
then
workers.
next morning,
If you send it this way, I haven't looked at it yet.
okay, but there's an item on there for them because when they approved for the hospital to get some of that money, they never told me what the cap is, how much.
We're gonna
So
determine
it's
if
gonna
you're
be-
essential.
needs to be on Monday.
On the 23rd.
Depends on who you talk
And I
to.
said, I emailed it yesterday. Okay. I think Joe's the one that was signed it. Didn't we do that yesterday, Joe?
I'm sorry.
Didn't you sign the agenda request that I did for, the hospital?
Mount
Yes,
Hospital.
yes. So it should be in your email. I sent it to you, Kelly, and the commissioner court.
Also, I believe there's,
There was something
line
else.
item for the,
Hmm?
Yeah, the fund for the American Rescue.
yeah, make it move.
Damn, that sucker. Well, I mean, how big a tree
Got some big numbers.
Yeah.
We good? Jackie, you good?
I gotta get those agendas to make sure it means all this stuff.
You, Jackie.
And then I'll be good.
You, Jackie.
I was gonna say, I'll go over, I will go over it with you, what I sent to make sure that we've got everything on Monday. I'll go over it with you in the morning.
He on his way. Make a motion, we adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Second. 3 seconds. It's unanimous.
Second, a third, and a fourth.
Thank y'all.
Stephen, you can't leave.